Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 4, Episode 12. Today is May 8th, Thursday, 2025. It is 113 days until Elk Season. We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And tonight on the Elk Season Podcast,
We're going to talk about getting mauled in several different ways. There's an African bird that shows up. We're going to talk about, we have an outdoor sport opening up here. We'll figure out which one that is.
Sierra.
Tourism conservation, wolves. We have some wolves in California, but also a poaching update. Colorado pronghorn story.
Oh.
And being gored again in Yellowstone. We'll talk about the coming season of gorings. All that and a little bit more, probably a lot more than you didn't need on the Elk Season Podcast. I don't know where the violin's coming from, but this will make for awkward television.
Yeah.
And it's a lefty. I'm playing it as a lefty.
You are.
What's funny is I think about, because I play guitar as a righty.
Yeah.
And I couldn't play a guitar as a righty to save my life. But whenever I go to play an air violin, I always play it as if I'm a lefty.
Yeah.
It's weird. And I feel, but I almost feel like I could be ambidextrous with a violin, but not a guitar.
Okay. Huh.
Pointless facts.
I wonder if I tried to play the violin. I played the violin for 10 years. I wonder if I ever tried to play it left-handed. I probably did. I sucked at it right-handed, so.
I had a really cheap guitar I bought from a friend for like $20.
Yeah.
I strung it upside down to see if I could play it, and no. The answer is absolutely not.
It's another.
So I strung it the right way, and then I gave it to somebody for a Christmas gift for their kids because I'm like, I had such a bad memory of how it felt. Like you just wanted to get to part with that trauma. Yeah.
Goodbye, trauma. Let's talk about Mauled.
Yes.
The grizzly dude. The grizzly dude. I'm about halfway through this book. It's kind of a short book, but
you brought him up on our last podcast.
Yes, and there's some great takeaways. First of all, if you have a chance to have the grizzly dude come talk to your organization, take that.
Reach out to him.
Reach out to him. Invite him in. He is processing through this. He's an absolute. He's just positive. He's just a positive person. So he recounts. It's written by two authors. So there's his own personal account of what happened, and then an author takes over and describes the recovery process and the surgeries, and he talks to the doctors, and he goes over his wife's diary.
Okay.
But he was attacked on a bicycle. So he was on a bicycle.
And we've talked about that before.
Yes.
Like it makes me not want to ride a bike in the mountains anymore.
Yeah. And he was attacked thrice. And the third time was the worst. And there was a point, I think it was in the first attack, where he holds up the bicycle and the bear almost comes through the bicycle but gets like stuck in the bicycle and then gets away from it and then continues to attack him. But this bicycle in the attack is something that is one of the props that he sometimes brings with him.
Okay.
And he's up in Alberta. This all happened in Alberta, Canada. And he was out sheep hunting in August. Okay. So he was attacked 3 times, and after the third time, it was very bad. It was very bad. He sat down and propped himself up on a stump, and he's texting his wife, knowing that they'll find his phone, knowing that he can't send a text, but knowing that they'll find his phone and read what he'd written. And he's like, "This is it. I'm turning it in." And he looked at photos of his baby daughter, his brand new baby daughter, his only child, and his wife, and he was listening to music. And he put it on random. He's just leaning up against this stump, and he put it on random, and Baby Shark comes on.
Oh.
And he's like, "Oh, I am living through this." He was
wow.
Yeah, and so in fact, They sang the whole Baby Shark song in the book, because I'm listening to the audible version. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how does your kid's song not motivate you?
Yeah.
So he gets up. He knows there's a camp nearby. And so he goes to the camp. His hands are so busted, he can't open a water bottle. He's throwing it to try to break it. His jaw is unhinged. He tries to pour water and food in his face. He's so hungry. He can't even swallow it. It won't even stay in. He finds bandages at these guys' camps. He wished they would have been there to help him, but they're not. And so he's destroying their camp. And he's tearing into everything. He finds some gauze. He's wrapping himself up. He gets a gauze around his head, and finally he feels the gauze pop his jaw back into place. Oh. And he's like, "Oh, that's so much more comfortable." Then he leaves the guy the note. "I'm so sorry. I wrecked your camp. I've been attacked by a grizz. Here's my name and phone number."
Wow. That's
then it's still from the attack to when he makes it to Panther Lodge is 9 hours. He is on his own for 9 hours, including making it all the way back to his truck, driving his truck. Sometimes he would crawl, sometimes he would try to walk, but one of his legs was busted so bad that he just couldn't make good time on the trails. Anyways, absolutely epic.
Wow.
When he gets to Panther Lodge, the first kid who sees him thought it was a costume, thought the guy was trying to scare him. Half of his face is torn off. His fingers are dangling. An eyeball is dangling. Oof. The whole time, an eyeball is dangling. It's so horrific. It's so horrific. And everybody says the same thing from the hospital is his attitude. I mean, they're worried about him, right? He's lost a lot of blood. He's been through a lot. He hasn't eaten anything. It's been hours. And they're like, does this guy even know his name? He rattled off his Canadian, they have universal healthcare, his Canadian healthcare number. He knew it by heart. And so they were able to look up and find everything in his history. And he was very positive through all of the surgeries.
Wow.
And there were many. And they said it would probably be about 6 months before he could get back to work. But he was let out of the hospital, I think 6 weeks after the attack. Within 2 months, he was riding his bike to work again and working full time.
That's perseverance, determination right there.
Yeah. So absolute first class stud.
Yeah,
I'd say. Just to not give up. Just to keep trying. Thank you for keep trying. So yeah, if you get a chance to listen to this guy speak and tell his story, I can't do it justice. But I would recommend it. It's called The Grizzly Dude. That's about where I left off. And so I will listen to more of that audiobook and bring it back to the Elk Season podcast. But it's hard. It's hard. And it's very graphic. And it's one of the things we all fear when we talk about going out in the woods and we talk about bears. Yeah.
I'm excited for grizzlies increasing their numbers.
Yeah.
Definitely not afraid of a black bear under most circumstances.
Right.
But a grizzly does.
Yeah. It does raise the hairs on the back of my neck. Yeah. It gives me some goosebumps on the arm. Yeah. If I know there's grizzlies in the area. And I've stayed the night in grizzly country before.
Yeah.
And incidentless.
Well,
we all have.
I went trekking into grizzly territory for a week.
Yeah, you did.
And I saw one deer the entire time. It was very lifeless during that time for whatever reason. There's a lot of rain though, so I think a lot of things are just hunkered down.
Yeah. Yeah, the wilderness, as many grizzlies as Glacier has, it doesn't have the elk populations. It doesn't have the wild. I mean, those mountains are rough.
Yeah.
The Bob Marshall, living in the Bob Marshall is not for the faint of heart. It's not for a lot of deer. Yeah. It's not for a lot of big game, right? It's rough country.
Yeah, a lot of canyon lands.
Yeah,
it's very steep.
A lot of rocks, steep, rugged. It's a rough place to live.
Yeah.
And when we started elk hunting, we were looking for rough places.
Yeah.
And you realize, well, we don't need to go rough.
Yeah.
We would need to go where the animals live, where it's not so rough.
And we've been much more successful with that strategy.
much more successful. Yeah. But the Grizzly Dude, the book is called Mauled, and the guy is Grizzly Dude, and I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. Cool. It's so good.
Glad he's on the recovery.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned that if I remember correctly, he was doing this to help with the PTSD of his event, right?
So the trauma of his own experience.
So help him process his trauma. It's actually healthy for some individuals to be able to do this. So I think it's cool that he's doing that.
And his wife kept a journal, and she talked about how hard it was for her. It was really hard because everybody wanted to see him. Right? Not just family and friends, everybody in the media, every news station, everybody wanted to talk to him. And he was always polite and friendly to all these people that come and visit. And then she would come and visit and be like, "Oh, it's you again." Right?
Yeah.
Which is what you do. But she said in her diary, "I feel this way. I know it's not true, but I feel this way because he's getting so much attention from all these other people." Anyways, she talked about those difficulties, and that was good to hear. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I forget about my wife's and any of her feelings anytime I go hunting. 100% off the table. What? Anyway, so it was refreshing. And sometimes I throw things in to just make my wife worry a little bit more. Like if I don't come back on Monday, here's where to look for my mangled corpse.
Right.
It's just the sentence I would give her.
Maybe it's different types of details. I don't know.
But I felt so confident. Right, it's so confident I would come back. Nobody's going to be looking for my mangled corpse.
I think that's a majority. I don't know. I hate using the word majority, but it feels like a majority of cases start off that way.
Yeah,
we're fine. Nothing's going to go wrong.
Of course. So, right. Yeah, there is the Russian satellite that they launched 53 years ago.
Yeah,
that's supposed to crash back to Earth today. I don't know if it's made it yet. Do you know? Have you heard? Right.
Oh, nope, that wasn't that. Okay.
There's a 78% chance it could just land in water.
Yeah.
But there's not a 0% chance it lands on your front lawn.
Right. Which I actually, when I saw that last week, when I realized that was happening, I was like, it'd be cool if it just landed in my lawn.
So do we act like that very low percentage? Do we hide from our front lawn? Right? Do we hide? It could land on your front lawn. Do we want to hide in the basement and just until it clears? That's what it's like going into grizzly country. Right?
Yeah.
There are grizzlies, but the statistics are just not there. Yes, there is a potential danger,
not likely.
But it's not like a satellite falling out of the sky and landing on
when
you.
we talk about these cases that crop up, whether it's this guy or cases that happen, like in Idaho, we had an increased rate of incidents of people having encounters with grizzlies,
and it will continue to increase.
But it's still a very small percentage of people. It's like it's driving, right? It's more deadly to drive to the airport than it is to fly on a plane. Yep. But your fear of the plane is superseded because you hear these stories and you go, "Oh my gosh, that's a scary way to die," and it creates more stress, which makes you over exaggerate the fear, which causes you to overestimate the likelihood.
Yeah,
and so same kind of situation.
Yeah, and the hospital doesn't have a grizzly unit.
No, you know why?
Because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's very low likely.
He was in the burn unit. A lot of skin grafts.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of that same type of recovery. So he was the hero of the burn unit. Because they just loved him. His attitude was so positive, and he worked so hard. He was up on a cane. He was out walking with a walker like a week later. Oh, man. Nice. What a story. What a great story.
In other news.
Yes.
Locally. Yeah. I brought out a poaching story 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So you said you had an update.
I found an update. Is the article there? Can you read much of it? There's probably not a whole lot you can read, but this is from the South Hills. All three men pled guilty to a reduced charge of shooting something out of season and then possessing game without the proper tag. Some real misdemeanor stuff. But later in the article, it goes on to say these men took a reduced plea because they were the little pigs in the operation.
Okay.
They were not the bigwigs. So, and it ties it back into the case in Filer.
Okay.
So let's say I just want to work through this here. You say, I found somebody who definitely poached. He told me he poached. So I go, okay, where is your poached deer? It's at this taxidermist. So they go to the taxidermist. And they're like, hey, where's your paperwork? Oh, what else do you not have paperwork for? And the house of cards falls.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how I see it. I don't know really how it goes
that's
down.
Probably not
But
too far off.
I don't think it's too far off. So, and I think maybe some of these guys were on that list.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
it's an interesting consideration.
Yeah. You poach. Trophy poaching is especially heinous.
Yeah.
Poaching for food. Poaching because you need something in the freezer is one thing.
Yeah.
But poaching and having it preserved to show other people to brag about your kill is next level heinous.
Yeah,
it's really crappy.
I could never understand that.
I can't feel proud about something.
I've been trying to fill my freezer for more than 2 decades now.
Right.
I've long starved.
There's plenty of cattle.
I want to brag
get
about
away with it.
The good and the bad about the meat that I harvest. But
yeah.
Anyway. Interesting update.
Yeah, so that was really interesting because I as soon as I saw that, I go, they start mentioning the South Hills. I go, there's not a whole lot going on in the South Hills. I mean, I love the South Hills, and it's a great area.
And there's some good animals out there.
Great animals. So the biggest elk in Idaho come from the South Hills.
Yeah.
The biggest elk in the entire state.
Yeah.
Over 400 inches. I've known 2 people personally that have harvested over 400 inches of antlers on an elk.
Is like 400 inches. What does that mean? Like, are you measuring every square inch of the thing and you're just adding it up? Like,
linear inches.
If you take all the antlers, break them off, and then put them up in a line, you have 400 inches.
Yes.
I don't understand what that means.
Yes. But you also add the girth in inches. You also add the spread in inches. You also
eyes rolling.
If it's very complicated. So if the length of the main beam is shorter than the spread, you take away that difference. Right? The main beam has to be long and wide.
My dumb luck is going to be like, I'm going to pull down an elk someday.
Yeah.
That is like a record breaker, and I'll be like, it is?
Yeah. Don't ever have it scored. Just put it up on the wall.
Yeah.
European mount.
Yay.
There it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wolves in California. You came across an interesting take.
Yeah. So this is a white woman complaining about a white woman in California. Not just a white woman. Excuse me. A blonde woman is what I meant to say. A pretty blonde, right? Right. 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
An individual in California. Yeah. Got it.
Right. The what's it called? The halo effect makes someone blonde and pretty. Her words have more weight than someone who is even speaking the truth. So, anyway, that's what I'm saying. This woman with a halo, obviously.
Okay. I'm glad you qualified it that way because I'm like, didn't know why you had to point out these things, but now I get it. Got it.
Yeah, and so when I see articles like that, I have to weigh it. I weigh that halo effect against everything they're saying because she's throwing some statistics out there that I think a little too grand and a little too rounded. Right? They're like, well, it's a 63,000, but we rounded it up to 250. Right? It's like, what?
Round it to the nearest 100,000.
But there is, but the truth of the story, the facts are, wolves are in Northern California.
Yeah.
They're in Northern California in numbers.
Healthy population.
Higher than expected.
Yeah.
And this girl also talked about how some of the coyote management has been stemmed. They said, like, stop coyote management, which I think is good. Wolves will take care of the coyotes. The reason we have a coyote problem is because the wolves are so territorial and there's no wolves to keep those coyotes in check.
Gotcha.
Right? It's all part of the ecosystem. And again, she makes a claim that so many private animals are killed. So many, and it's like that's way too much. I mean, we would have heard about this. You have wolves that kill four or five cows. Most of the Western United States is going to know about it. Most of us.
Yeah. So
it would be on the Meat Eater podcast. It would be, other people would be talking about it.
So there's definitely a litmus test with other avenues of discussion for sure. I also don't want to discount even if it was only one animal from a rancher, it's a stress that is incurred. So with all due respect to the ranchers, just try to have people that don't exaggerate the numbers.
But
if you don't feel like anything's being done, sometimes you feel like that's all you can do is exaggerate to try to get people's attention.
Right. Yeah, everything on the internet has to be grandiose and overstated and oversimplified. But if we could say, okay, you're right. It is tragic that a rancher had a cow die from wolf predation. Okay, let's say all the necropsy's been done, and a wildlife biologist has said yes, a wolves definitely brought down this cow. How many other cows from your herd have died, and how did they die? Mm-hmm. And let's talk about percentage. Let's talk about the real dangers, because wolves still not at the top of the list. Wolves make a great villain.
Yeah.
But they're not at the top of the list when it comes to calf deaths, not even way out west here where there's so many wolves.
Yeah.
So wash your brains out with all of that.
Yeah. And people are these stories are going to increase because wolves have been reintroduced to Colorado now. And so we're still waiting to hear how that works, but we did have a gray wolf that was transplanted this year in Colorado pass away. It died.
Yeah, I thought we talked about that a couple weeks ago.
I know that last week I brought it up, but we never did a podcast.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
We had a week off.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know that. We got lazy. We had beer. We had talk. We had fun. We didn't do podcasts.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, the wolf that passed in Colorado. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
And those numbers are really, really small right now. They're not the wolf population in Colorado is not ready for exponential growth.
No.
I think 4 or 5 years. But
it's going to take some time.
In 4 or 5 years, there could be exponential growth. And in 7 to 10 years.
Yeah, especially because wolves have already made their way back.
Yes, on their own.
Which is what's...
From Wyoming and Michigan.
Yeah, the Michigan, Minnesota area. It's just crazy to me that happened. In Colorado, since we're there, this story came up a couple weeks ago, and 2 weeks ago. I talked about how there's a pronghorn foundation being started.
We talked about that.
Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, something Western. Anyway, in Colorado, they've had an issue, and I can't remember if we talked about it in this way about pronghorn before.
Sorry.
But
there's a little bug flying around.
I thought you were just applauding my conversation. But anyway.
I would never do that.
Excuse me.
Sorry. Anyway.
It's a weird way to applaud, but okay. We've talked about having like land bridges or corridors for animals to roam, right?
Yes,
so this has to do with that. In Colorado and in other places, they've noticed that. And I've known this from antelope hunting with you and Slim back in the day.
Yeah.
Where the antelope can't jump fences.
Right.
They run along them. And that cuts off their ability to access places that they need to. And so pronghorn numbers have continually gone down. So there's been a push to say, hey, we need to find more corridors for pronghorn to go and to live. And so in Colorado, there's actually a place they've identified where they've taken down a whole bunch of fencing to allow them to have better corridor. So it was just kind of an update to that story that's loosely threaded throughout our podcast that's out there. So
to update the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good. The beaver's coming back, the antelope, the swift fox. I know we haven't talked about the swift fox, but
I got a message yesterday.
Oh, you did? Oh, good.
Sorry. The swift fox, I'm pretty sure was used in Men in Tights to send a message. Why don't you fox him? Anyway.
Oh, I am not familiar. Sorry. I have not. I know. I need to watch Men in Tights 100 times so I can catch up with you.
Try 3,000.
I know.
All right. Anyway, I don't know if it's a swift fox or not, but when I hear the term swift fox, I think it's delivering messages. Why don't you fox him?
So a swift fox is a very small fox that lives on the prairies of eastern Montana and eastern Saskatchewan and eastern Alberta, and it's very distinct subspecies of fox that is about the size of a house cat.
Oh,
very tiny, and they were just virtually wiped out. And there was a reintroduction. I read in the newspaper, if you remember what those are. In Montana, back in the early 90s, about the swift fox reintroduction. I remember being fascinated. Yeah, I had to work pretty hard to read an entire article in a newspaper, but that one I was definitely fascinated with. And now there's a great documentary on out there. I'm not sure where. I think it's probably just on YouTube about the swift fox, and it's a good story. I would encourage anybody to watch it.
My brain is just going satirical here because I'm like, that documentary, doesn't it focus on the last remaining population working for the USPS? The United States Postal Service?
Yeah.
They're delivering messages. Anyway, it's just a bad joke that I shouldn't open, like put it back in the box kind of thing.
Okay.
By the way, that wouldn't be the first time today, literally,
yes,
that somebody would say, put that joke back in the box.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay. You've taught your other colleagues to say that?
No. I sent some friends my Leonardo poke.
Oh.
And
No way. That one rocked. That one rocked. You should be proud of that one. You should be proud of that one. Good.
They can mock me all they want, but
no.
I'm proud of it.
Good. Let them mock you. That was a good one. Okay.
All right.
I'm backing you on that one.
Thank you. Let's see. Tourism and conservation. So I came across this headline last week, but I wasn't in a place to read the article, so I didn't capture it, and I didn't have a chance to save it to come back to it later.
Yeah.
But you came across it. So tell me about this tourism and conservation.
If I can paraphrase, I like paraphrasing.
Quote them warmly and accurately.
I'm a tourist. Let's say my name's Karen. Let's say I'm from California and I came up here to see the wild, wild west, and I want to look at Yellowstone, or I want to look at Glacier. I want to go to one of our national parks. And I say, you know what? It's really pretty, and I like the big fluffy cows and the elk and stuff, but there weren't enough bears. And why are houses so close? Why are there houses close?
I thought I was coming here to not see houses.
Why are there houses? Can we do something about the houses so close to the national parks? Can we do something? I mean, can we just buy up the land and tear them down? Right? That's how I take that idea.
Sure.
Because what's going to happen if they do that? Somebody's going to go to that national park and go, well, yeah, but there's houses close to the boundary of the national park.
Yeah,
we got to move that, right? It just goes on forever.
It eventually restores nature to its natural state.
Yes, yeah. And anyways, I just thought it was silly. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate. People got to live somewhere, though.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a piece of the American pie, and that's a plot of land and a house, and there's 350 million of us.
Speaking of what you're saying, it kind of ties into a thought I had on this next story. Because you keep hearing about tourists going to Yellowstone and having incidents.
Yeah.
And I think, buffalo used to roam across this entire nation.
Yeah.
And I think what Florida is missing is a herd of buffalo. Because
how sad.
When they come to Yellowstone to see the buffalo that's left.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's like a pretty kitty. I got to go pet it. Come here, cute little doggy with horns and antlers, and you're huge. And antlers. Yeah. Buffalo have antlers now.
They have,
but anyway, Florida man was gored by a buffalo. And it's not even tourist season yet.
Right. And honestly, I want to throw a party. I want to throw a party as a preseason win for the Buffalo of Yellowstone.
There you go.
Honestly, it's not. I know it's just preseason, but we're ramping up. We're getting ready for the idiots to hit Yellowstone.
I think they're going to take it all the way this year.
And it's funny because the buffalo are so used to tourists, right?
Yeah.
They'll wander through. They don't give a thought about, well, there's a hot spring here, there's a mud pot here, there's trees here, or there's a boardwalk here.
Yeah.
They just don't care. They could go right to the Old Faithful, which is packed.
Yeah.
And just be standing there, and you go, and people walking all around them, and you think, oh, it's safe.
What's the recommended distance that you need to stay away from a buffalo, and elk in Yellowstone? What does the Forest Service say you need to stay away?
That's a good question.
I know the answer.
Do you know the answer?
I do.
Really?
And I go,
is it 150 feet?
Well, now I got to do some math.
I don't know.
Have the yards.
Oh, it's in yards?
Yeah.
How many yards?
25.
25 yards. So 75 feet.
Yeah.
So I was
Does not sound like enough space between me and a buffalo.
No.
An elk is going to run away from me. But a buffalo, they could get you in 75 feet.
But let's say biologists know within 75 yards?
Yes.
Okay. So within 75 yards?
75 yards.
Oh, okay. So that's way more than 150 feet.
Yeah.
That's almost 300 feet.
Yeah.
Or 225 feet.
But it doesn't seem that far to me.
Right. 75 yards. You can throw a football 75 yards. I've seen it. But let's just say that 75 yards, you're not in their fight zone.
Yeah.
Right. And so you get inside their fight or flight zone and they go, well, I could flight. And this buffalo are like, not a lot of natural predators around here. I could just take this guy on and move him, or I could move. And sometimes they go, fight or flight, flip a coin. You know, the most dangerous animal in Africa.
What's that?
Is a hippo.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The most deadly. They're very territorial and very protective. And it's baby season. I heard a great quote this last week. You know, treat every gun as though it's loaded. Treat every bear as though it has cubs.
Yeah.
If you are out in the woods in the spring, what a great quote. Act like every bear has cubs.
Yeah, that's a good
idea. Just a wise idea.
So speaking of bears in Yellowstone, what's the yardage they recommend for bears and wolves? Well, it makes more sense for bears and wolves, but
I don't know. I'd probably be the same.
150 yards.
150 yards. Okay. I was way off in both.
Well, you were halfway there because you said it was the same. 75 or,
Yeah.
Anyway, just an interesting thing I read in the article. If that's true, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just keep your distance. That's the point.
Yeah.
Keep your distance. In Alabama.
Yeah.
There was a guy that got mauled by a bobcat.
So first of all, you really got to have a bobcat corner to get mauled by a bobcat. What is this story? You said it's a good story.
Well, it's different than what I think you were expecting.
Yeah.
He was turkey hunting.
Okay.
And so what do turkey hunters look like?
They sit still. They don't
look like
move.
their surroundings. You're covered in camo.
Right.
And he's making turkey calls.
Yeah.
And in comes a hungry bobcat.
Yeah.
And doesn't know that he's not a bush.
Right.
So it was really just a mere coincidence.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
This gentleman was 82 years old.
Yeah. Right on. Good for you. Boy, I hope that's me.
And the cat looks miffed. Anyway, not really the cat, but
with a helpful picture of a cat who did nothing wrong. No doubt, right? That's not the cat that mauled it. No. Here's a picture of a cat who did nothing wrong.
But you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But you said so. There's that guy. It was not the story you'd expected. You told me a story I didn't expect when it comes to this bird apparently out of Africa.
Can birds be jerks? I'm fascinated by birds.
I used to have a little cockatiel, and my friends would always claim. Well, in Helena, when I lived there, my friends would always slip them off.
Yeah,
and he would start to pull. He would see people, and he'd pick up one of his legs, and he would curl his toe.
Really?
Up. Yeah, and he would do that.
Yeah.
So I would say yes.
And Grandpa had a magpie.
Oh, I've heard the story.
The magpie stories, man, crazy funny stories with the magpie. And my son Woody, who's named after Grandpa Elwood, who had the magpie, is fascinated with the idea of training crows to bring him money. Right? You live in a big city. You can put coins, and you have like a dog food. Right? You say, hey, teach the crow how to put a coin in and get a dog food treat. Then they'll go out and find their own money. Right? And
nice.
fill up, and that's kind of the idea, right? It's a fun thought. It's a fun thought experiment. Anybody making money?
Crows are very smart.
They are. But there's a bird in Africa. It's literally called the honey seeker. It's literally called the honey seeker. Huh. The bird will lead humans to honey. All you have to do is pay the bird beeswax.
Nice.
The bird genuinely expects payment in beeswax. Now, they take you to the hive knowing, probably evolutionarily, right? They take you to the hive knowing that you're going to take the honey and leave some wax behind. They're going to go in there and get that wax. Now, the birds are like, okay, go in there, take the honey, give the bird a little bit of wax, and you're done. But some of these birds, sometimes, if they recognize somebody like, you didn't tip me last time.
You're right.
right? You didn't give me a ball of wax last time. I'm leading you to these things. So once in a while, the birds will lead people to poisonous reptiles and dangerous animals.
A mamba,
like a
python.
Yes.
Whatever a galago is.
So take that.
Pufferter. Just being. Look, this is why I always thank ChatGPT for its help.
Yeah.
Because if it ever gets.
One day it's going to be like, you know what?
Like, hey.
All you had to do is say thank you.
Yeah, just once. Just once.
Just once.
Bank account drained. Anyway, so this brings us to our last story. We're getting a new store here, and I went to one in Boise just recently, but I didn't spend much time there.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get to kind of see everything about it. So I'm excited to see. And you actually told me it's opening, and it's opening sooner than I thought it was going to open
next week.
It's called Sierra Trading Post.
It's opening on the 17th of May here in Twin Falls. Now, we don't have a lot of outdoor gear shops.
Yeah, we have the Sportsman's Warehouse, and we have some outdoor stuff at our D&B Supply.
And Dick's.
And Dick's Sporting Goods.
Dick's has a little bit
more just athletic stuff.
Yeah. And even though, we went to Cabela's. I remember when we went to Cabela's in Boise after they first opened. Because growing up in Montana, there were no stores.
Nothing.
We had the Kmart sporting section.
Yeah, exactly.
And layaway.
Yep.
That is all we had.
And hopefully you'd get it off layaway before hunting season.
But they had these Cabela magazines that would come once in a while. And that was a dream book.
Yeah, it was.
Every piece of camouflage, every pistol, every rifle, everything was in there. And so as a young boy, my imagination would just explode at the idea of flipping through a Cabela's catalog. My first experience in a Cabela store, however, was underwhelming.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I went there with you.
Oh,
we went there. We went there to buy. We were on our way to Oregon to look for some gold. I go, hey, there's this thing here, and we've forgotten 100 things and had to go there. But it's full of just so much. Yeah, maybe stuff I'd like to buy, but already when I'm hiking and hunting, and I'm like, how much stuff did I bring, and how much stuff do I own that I didn't bring?
Yeah,
like what do I really need?
Yeah. So if you didn't like the Cabela's experience, you're probably not going to enjoy Shields.
So Sierra's
Shields.
It's
like a Cabela's on steroids. They opened one in Meridian.
Oh.
It's got a what do you call those?
They're virtual zoos. They're amusement parks, right? They're huge.
It's not it's not an amusement park necessarily, but it has a huge amusement park ride in it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, and all the displays of fish.
Yeah.
The aquariums, I mean, they're gigantic.
I guess in a way, I see what you're saying. I shouldn't have shut that down.
It's like a museum.
Quick.
It's like they're like a museum. I guess that's what I would say Cabela's is.
Yeah.
It's because they have hunting traditions and taxidermy. Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's really cool.
It's out there.
And but there's very little stuff I find that I go, yeah, I would really use this. But some real outdoor equipment. Like I said, if Sportsman's had a place where they were stringing up hammocks and I could try out some hammocks because I'm really into the hammock thing right now. And I think there's even a way to display that how effective an underquilt is, right? If you can get a fan or do something and just show people the difference between a regular. And you had an experience with the underquilt finally this fall.
And I baked.
You fell asleep in about 15 seconds.
I was pretty tired.
But comfy.
Yeah.
And warm and toasty. And you see the difference.
Yeah.
When you get into that hammock, all that insulative value, even in your clothes, is pressed away by your weight. And wind takes it away, takes the heat away from you.
Wind is the enemy.
Like you're naked. But you get that underquilt on. It's just amazing. Anyway.
Is it worse to be in the cold or worse to be in the wind when you're in the wilderness?
Oh my God, the wind just
the
hurts.
cold wind is the worst.
It just hurts. I do every day on my radio show. I do stories from the Old West.
Yeah,
and I have a theme every week. This week is striking it rich.
Okay,
but the theme last week was broken down wagons and getting lost on the Oregon Trail. This woman wrote, and I asked ChatGPT, I go, use journal excerpts and newspaper excerpts to verify the story so it sounds more authentic and is truthful. But this woman broke down in Raft River, Idaho.
Okay.
Right, just before City of Rocks. They were moving west along the Oregon Trail. She wrote that the wind is dry and cruel. The wind is cruel.
Yeah.
That's how she felt about the wind. And if
I buy that.
Oh man, if it is so relentless. I've been on the mountain all day long thinking maybe it'll stop at 3, maybe it'll stop at 4. And all day long, and the wind just beats you down. It empties you. It can dehydrate you really, really fast. If you're in the mountains and you're working hard and that wind is blowing, you could get really dehydrated. So, dehydration and hypothermia are the two biggest things you should be scared of when you go into the mountains.
Yep.
Not bears and wolves.
No, it's there's a lot coming, and I was feeling we went for a walk on campus today, and I'm just like, man, I wish I lived closer to some mountains. I just got to get up and go hiking.
Yeah.
I need to get out to the mountains. Now I have a camper. We've got plenty of camp trips scheduled this summer, so I'm excited for that. And I've got trail cams I got to go put up somewhere.
Yeah.
There's actually a unique hike. I don't know when we'll ever find time to do it. But there is I found what it looks like a cave.
Okay.
Up on the side of this hill, up where we hunt, but it's not in a ravine we've hunted.
Okay.
We were camping there
I
last
know what
year.
you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think maybe
we stop along the road on the way up.
Yeah, and I showed you. Yeah. I want to hike up to that place.
Okay. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so food for thought. Maybe we can get there.
Okay. I would love to go up there because from Google Earth, that area has a lot of trees. And so from Google Earth, you can't really see a lot of trails, a lot of game trails. So
but
I'd like
I know
to get
a
up
lot of hunters go on that side of the hill. I mean, when you think about how many trucks we see at our trailhead, there's people camped along the base of those mountains, and there's just droves of people in those hills. There's plenty of room for everybody, which is a beautiful thing. So,
there is.
Anyway, that's it.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I want to get out. And pretty soon we'll be hiding from the sunshine.
You're right.
And begging for September again. 113 days.
113. We're on our way.
Don't skip leg day.
Cheers, everybody.
Goodbye.
In the morning light, before dawn, bow grip tight, heart beating strong. Through the forest, ancient giants roam. In the land where the wild calls me home. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. The mountains rise, kissed by the sun. In September, where I belong, bugles echo loudly through the veil, a symphony of an ancient tale. Through the whispering pines and the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet. In nature's beauty where the hunter and elk meet. Silent as the morning mist, I travel on with careful grace. Every shadow, every sound surrounds me in this wild embrace. The challenge and the thrill, the patience and the skill, in the dance of life and nature, my heart's forever filled. As the sun sets, shadows long and deep, I find my place with the memories I keep. The chase and the beauty of a day gone by, deep in the the autumn breeze, driven by the chase, crisp air I breathe. With every step I take, earth beneath my feet, in nature's beauty, out where the hunter and elk meet. Here's to the wild places where the elk and I both roam. The chase that brings us closer to the place that I call home. In the stillness of the forest, in the grandeur of the land, I am one with nature's wonder, with my bow here in my hand.